Man, you take a break for a week and suddenly there are 5 different Pokemon trailers to look over. The Sun and Moon news just doesn't stop, and this latest batch is filled with clues and mysteries that make us wonder what exactly will happen over the course of this journey through Alola. Fortunately, we have the old analysis machine ready to go, but there's so much that we had to break it up into 2 videos. In this one, we'll be looking at the new Pokemon, the Poké Finder, Z-moves, and more. Alright, we're going to start simple and begin with a new Pokemon introduced during the Ether Foundation trailer. Well, I say simple, and yet we have Type Null, a strange name for a Pokemon with a design that's reminiscent of chimeras. Essentially, it's a lot of different Pokemon rolled into one. It has front legs like a bug type, a body that could be dark type, and a tail that's from a water type. And yet, it's a normal type Pokemon. Known as the synthetic Pokemon, Type Null has been labeled as nothing, despite the fact that it was designed to be able to adapt to any situation. That's why it has so many different body parts. The mask over its head is actually a piece of equipment specifically designed to both hinder Type Null's immense speed and control its latent powers. Interestingly, according to the Pokemon website, it was designed with a certain mission in mind. While the mission isn't stated, whoever created Type Null needed a Pokemon that could rival the Pokemon spoken of in myths, and its battle armor ability will protect it from critical hits. It does make us wonder, will Type Null have a form where it doesn't have the helmet and can unleash its true power? It would make sense to include that based on the flavor text, and would serve as a great challenge when facing Gladion. After all, that is the biggest question. Why does this newly introduced Team Skull Enforcer have a Type Null? Did Team Skull create it? They don't exactly seem to be the type since they're designed after street thugs. So could that mean that Gladion has some other connection that gave him this Pokemon? We think that's the case, but we'll wait until we focus on Gladion himself in the next part before looking into it further. We do still have more new Pokemon to look at after all, and that includes the new Dragon type, Jangmo-o. Known as the Scaly Pokemon, it can have either the Bulletproof ability, which protects it from Bullet, Ball, and Bomb type moves, or the Soundproof ability, which protects it from sound-based moves. These abilities seem to tie in well with Jangmo-o's personality. It has the pride of a warrior, though it remains humble about its actual power. Yet, in its constant pursuit of becoming stronger, it will never miss a day of training. Jangmo-o is good at both offense and defense, using its scales in either situation. Because of its pride, it will never turn its back to its enemies, making many trainers believe that it is a truly valiant Pokemon. The Jangmo-o tend to live in harsh locations like canyons where no other people or Pokemon are around, so they can train together in peace. We even see the canyon in the Japanese trailer where the player is using Jangmo-o to battle a Riolu. This canyon is obviously the same one found on the southwest island that we've dubbed Pony. The canyon matches the ones on the map, and later clips from other trailers will support this. The most intriguing thing to us though is the fact that the Riolu the trainer is battling is level 25. Is it possible that players will visit this island much sooner than we thought? Type Null and Jangmo-o are the only 2 new Pokemon officially revealed within these trailers. The only other ones are the Alolan forms for Rattata and Raticate. The Alolan form of Rattata came about because of their battle for territory with Yungoos. While Rattata and other regions are found in the plains, the Alolan version have settled in urban areas. They're nocturnal and live in nests of several dozen, with Alolan Raticate serving as bosses. These changes were done because of the introduction of Yungoos and the attempt to avoid them. In fact, thanks to Gumshoes, we can see that developers were having some fun with the relationship between these 2 Pokemon. With Rattata's new whiskers, it resembles a traditional Japanese thief, while Gumshoes is inspired by a detective, and thus the eternal struggle between the 2 is set. Rattata's new form also gave it the ability to sniff out delicious fresh foods, and will actively ignore food that isn't fresh anymore. Alolan Rattata is a dark and normal type with the abilities Gluttony, which has the Pokemon eat a berry earlier than usual, and Hustle, which boosts its attack but lowers its accuracy. The size of Alolan Rattata is the same, but it's actually a few pounds heavier. But it's with the Alolan Raticate that we see the results of these extra pounds. The Pokemon website explains that because they live in urban areas, their diet is higher in calories, which is why they're over 15 pounds heavier. But Raticate is also quite picky, preferring to only eat fresh fruits and high-class ingredients. In fact, it's rumored that some chefs take advantage of this and bring Raticate with them when choosing ingredients to buy or testing new dishes. However, Alolan Raticate prefers to stay in its nest and continually eat the huge stockpile of food there. Of course, Raticate isn't the only one shown with an Alolan form. Even Professor Oak has one. We were introduced to his cousin, Samson Oak, during the Japanese overview trailer. It turns out that his speciality are the regional variants that have popped up in Alola, which makes sense since Professor Kukui focuses on Pokemon moves, tying into the new Z moves. Unfortunately, we don't know much of Samson's role beyond this limited information. Perhaps he'll offer up a side quest involving the Alolan forms? Either way, the only thing that we can determine is that he isn't met until the player reaches the southeast island of Alola, which we've dubbed Ula Ula. We can clearly see the same village that's near the Golden Tower. Now, while that may be all the Pokemon officially revealed, there is one more new Pokemon that was spotted during the second Train On trailer. In a short clip, we clearly see a Pokemon that resembles Cutiefly, meaning its evolution. We don't have a name for it or anything, but it doesn't change its type in any major way, at least according to its design. So we can safely assume that it will simply be a more powerful version. We also see that it's challenged in the same area that Oricorio's Bele style was shown off, placing it on Ula Ula Island near these red flowers. Finally, while not a new Pokemon, we do see a scene showing that Crabrawler is one of Hala's Pokemon, and since it's at level 15, players could expect to challenge the Kahuna around that level as well. Nothing too major, but we're getting an idea of Hala's team. We do see quite a bit more of the island challenge within these trailers though. In one sequence, we see that the trial begins as soon as this cave is entered. It would seem, at least in some cases, that trials don't officially begin until a certain area is entered. The question is, which trial captain does this one belong to? Is it one we've already met, or someone brand new? While that remains a mystery, we do finally get to see Lana's trial, and as many suspected, it's wishy-washy in its school form that needs to be calmed, and we can see why simply based on its size. It's absolutely huge compared to the trainer and the Lapras she's riding. We see a little more of the interaction with Lana as well, as another scene shows her talking about wishy-washy while it's raining, likely meaning that this is before the trial began. If we had to guess, she's giving the player details on exactly what the trial consists of. But there's something far more fascinating about the trial captains. During the overview trailer, we see the 4 trial captains revealed so far. Kyaveh is with his Alolan Marowak, which is twirling its bone in the background. Sophocles is in his workshop while someone we don't know is standing next to him, and both Lana and Mallow can be seen in the areas that they're met. However, did you notice what they're all doing? Kyaveh is performing the Fire Z move pose, Sophocles the electric one, Lana is like the water pose, and Mallow blooming is the grass Z move pose. This could be our first real evidence that each pose is learned from the trial captains. And since we know each type has its own Z move, this could indicate that there are 18 trial captains in total, one for each move type. It would go to show just how big a game Sun and Moon really could be. But there is one wrench in this idea, Snorlax. We've already seen that it has an exclusive Z move. Could special Z moves like this be automatically learned, or are they tied into their type in some way? We just don't know. But we are willing to bet that there will be a trial captain for each move type. Why else would they be demonstrating the Z move pose? Unless these poses tie into some other element of the game that we simply haven't seen yet. We see more of the Z moves within these trailers as well. In the second Train On trailer, Beware uses what seems to be the Fighting Z move, though we unfortunately don't see the entire sequence. But in the overview trailer, there's a moment where the female trainer poses with her fist held forward, likely indicating that this is the Fighting type Z move pose. Along with it, there's a pose for what we think is the Ghost Z move, as the male trainer poses like a Haunter. It's hard to imagine any other type fitting that pose. Continuing on, while we don't see the pose or the Z move itself, we do get to see the symbol for Ice Z moves in front of the Alolan Sandslash. We then see more of the Fighting Z move before the trailer flashes what we believe is the end of the Flying Z move with the Giant Tornado, and what we believe is the Poison Z move in the large purple plume. All of them are impressive and show just how powerful they can be, but beyond seeing more of them, we don't really learn anything new. That will have to wait for another time. We did learn more about Zygarde though, or at least the process needed to meet it. Once players reach Akala Island, they'll meet Dexio and Cinna from X and Y outside of this large building in the port city. Both of them are certainly taking in the culture with their sunglasses and Dexio's shirt featuring Alolan Executor. They're not on a complete vacation though, as for some reason Dexio believes the player is the perfect person to have the Zygarde Cube. This cube is designed to collect the cores and cells of Zygarde spread all across Alola. But here's our question: why? We know that collecting the cells and cores are the key to finding Zygarde, but why are Dexio and Sinnoh interested? Was it Sycamore that sent them to Alola? After all, they are his assistants. But that doesn't make sense either, since Sycamore's field of study is Mega Evolution. For now, we just don't know what the two of them are up to. In any case, the Zygarde cells are indicated by shimmering bits of light that appear when the trainer is close enough. We've seen this light before, meaning that our prediction that these were Zygarde cells was correct. It still remains to be seen though whether the more cells and cores that are collected, the more powerful your Zygarde can become. The Japanese trailer adds a little more to this scene though. After the cell is collected, the Rotom Dex appears and says that it's their job to recover all of the cells and cores. So this must be the first one collected after receiving the cube. That likely means that this encounter takes place in the forest area of Akala Island as the player heads to this village near the graveyard. If all the Zygarde cells and cores need to be gathered, then we'll likely have to return to Melemele Island to finish the collection. These trailers also give us our best look at just how much we can customize our trainers. In the second Train On trailer, we see a male trainer with a different hairstyle and no hat, along with completely new clothes. Likewise, the female trainer has longer hair with a clip in it, a pink shirt, and a skirt. The big takeaway here is that hats aren't a required accessory and other options are available entirely, and the overview trailer provides many more examples of this. In one, we see the female trainer from behind where she's blonde and wearing a black hat, shorts, and a yellow top with a matching yellow bag. Another has the male trainer walking down the street while wearing a different hat, shorts, and a green shirt, as well as a different backpack. But the best example of all the fashion choices available to the player is this moment showing off the Battle Royal. We see the different hairstyles next to each other for the boys and a major new hairstyle for the girl. She's also wearing a more formal shirt. The two boys in the middle are wearing a buttoned up shirt, but it's the one on the left that confirms that you can obtain the same t-shirt as Dexio. Could this mean that every piece of clothing on each character is available to buy? Or is this just a special case? Either way, it's great to see so many options available. The trailers also offer another look at the ride Pokemon in action, with the biggest reveal being a look at the request menu for the service. In it, we see a list of different Pokemon along with their name and what they do. This might be the evidence that this really does replace HMs in the game. While we don't have a full picture, we can clearly see 3 Pokemon that are part of the list. There may be a 4th above Lapras from the edges we see, but it still supports this idea. Somehow, as the player progresses, we think they'll unlock more Pokemon as part of the service. We also see new scenes of Tauros charging along a normal road that seems to be Route 3, which could make it the first ride Pokemon unlocked in the game. Obviously, we're not completely positive of that, but we do see Tauros again in a rocky section of Pony Island. There's a Pokeball north of it behind some of the breakable rocks, again showing how it provides the same service as a Rock Smash. But we're also quite curious about the 2 nearby trainers. They seem to be together as part of a double battle, but we're not sure what they're dressed for. Could these be ace trainers? At any rate, we see the player fishing while riding Lapras at another point. Considering how fast Sharpedo moves, we think this can only be done while riding Lapras. The question is, can different Pokemon be found depending on whether the trainer fishes from the shore or from Lapras? Or is it simply an extra perk? We do see that this is taking place near the water basin on Akala Island though, and with the clear skies, this may be after Lana's trial. Returning to the Sharpedo, when it breaks a rock, we can see a shiny object underneath. Could this be one of the Zygarde cells? Or is it the location of a Z crystal, or maybe even a Mega Stone? It's hard to tell with just this short clip, but we believe it's likely a Zygarde cell. There is another brand new feature to take a look at though. The Poké Finder is a function of the Rotom Dex. At specific spots, players can use the camera to take pictures of Pokemon in the wild. The first spot we see is on Melemele Island, right next to the tallest building in the main city. There's a crack in the wall where we can find a photogenic Pikachu. However, we can only take 6 pictures at a time, which are immediately judged by Rotom. According to the Pokemon website, as you get better at taking pictures, new features will be unlocked, such as the ability to zoom. The trailer shows off a bit more of what you can do with the Poké Finder. From the 6 pictures you take, you can choose one to presumably show off to other players, who then rate the photo. But we're not sure if it's something that's a part of Miiverse or something done entirely in-game. While some of the comments on the photo contain emojis and random sayings, indicating that players can type whatever they want in response, others seem like something an NPC would say. For example, why would another player ask, "What kind of camera are you using?" And yet, Rotom does track how many thumbs up you've received in total and the record for how many thumbs up were given to a single photo. We'd expect some kind of share functionality, but we're just not sure if the judging is done by the NPCs or other players. There are plenty of photo opportunities though. In the trailer, we can see that there's a spot in Pony Island's canyon where you could take a picture of a fast-moving Dragonite. Another spot features Eevee and Lillipup, who may be on the farm on Alola Island based on the hay bale behind them. The final scene we see features Cutiefly in Oricorio's pom-pom form, which would put this location somewhere on Melemele Island. But here's a question we have about the Poké Finder. Will these photo opportunities have different Pokémon depending on the time of day? We obviously can't answer that now, but we wouldn't be surprised if that was the case based on the emphasis on the 12-hour time difference between Sun and Moon. As the Pokemon website states, time in the game is tied to the actual time on your 3DS. Pokemon Sun follows this time just like previous games, but Pokemon Moon works a little differently in that the time is shifted by 12 hours. So your friend with Sun may be playing at daylight, but you with Moon are seeing everything at night, and vice versa. There are a few scenes that aren't tied to the actual time, but for the most part this is the major difference between the two versions. Naturally, each version will have exclusive Pokemon. In the trailer, we see the trainer in the graveyard on Alola Island. There's a Pokeball nearby, but the trainers have to run through grass first. Along the way, they encounter ghost Pokemon, appropriately enough. In Sun, it's a Drifloon, while Moon features Misdreavus. Could this be our first example of non-legendary version exclusive Pokemon? Or is it simply a case of only encountering Drifloon during the day, while Misdreavus is found at night? Another difference between the versions are the totem Pokemon. In Sun, it's a Gumshoos, while Moon features an Alolan Raticate. While the Pokemon encounter itself is different, it seems everything surrounding it is the same. Gumshoos and Raticate can summon their pre-evolved forms for help, and both raise their defense stat as part of being a totem Pokemon. But could the presence of Raticate mean that there aren't 18 different trial captains? Presumably, the totem Pokemon represents the type favored by the trial captain. We assumed that this meant that Gumshoe stood for a normal type trial captain. While Raticate is a normal Pokemon, it's primarily a dark type. Is this just disregarded for the normal type trial captain, or are the totem Pokemon not connected to the trial captains? Despite this wrinkle, we still believe that Raticate would represent a normal type trial captain. The trailer also shows a scene of Hal talking to a young woman near a truck. We're not sure of the significance, but it appears to be a one-time thing, as when the trainers run by, Hal is now gone. It's not that surprising, but it does highlight how some things will be the same despite the time difference. However, there is one moment where the same scene is shown with a major difference. During the More Ultra Beast trailer that officially revealed UB02 Absorption and Beauty, there's a sequence where they face off against Tapu Koko. This highlights how some scenes will take place at the same time despite the different versions. Additionally, while each UB02 is exclusive to a different version, the prelude to the fight plays out the same except for a small bit of scenery. In Moon, there's the remains of a broken bridge in the foreground. We can see the broken wood near the cliff. And yet, that bridge isn't there at all in Sun. Why is it there for one version and not the other? What's the significance? Does something else happen before the Ultra Beasts make their appearance? We just don't know. There's a lot more to see within these trailers though. We still haven't covered the new locations, the Ether Foundation, or the Ultra Beasts. Those will be covered in part 2 of the analysis, which is coming very soon. But if there's anything we missed here, let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to Game Explained for more on Pokemon and other things gaming.